Hi everyone, this is Trevor Pott, and I'm going to go over the Office 365 interface with you today. So, to start off with, we have to find the interface. For me, go to Google, Office 365 portal. First link, sign into Office 365. Now, I was already signed in, so it's just brought me through without having to actually enter my credentials. Very first screen, what we're going to see here is Service Health. If you notice up here, we're in the admin screen. There are, of course, a few different other options we will explore. For the different services that you use, you can see if there are any known issues. Details and history is quite useful. It allows you to go through and see if there were any outages that line up with tickets you may have had logged, issues that may have shown up. I'm going to go back to the dashboard here. For us to start using this Office 365 install, we need an actual domain name associated with it. When you originally sign up, Microsoft creates for you an onmicrosoft.com domain. In this case, tastypie.onmicrosoft.com. I actually have the tastypie.com domain. As we can see here, there are 1 million digits of pi on tastypie.com. It pretty much only actually gets hits once a year. Next up is adding the domain tastypie.com. Going to click through, type the domain name, tastypie.com. In order for Microsoft to verify that you own the domain, Microsoft requires that you place a DNS record in the DNS for the domain. It provides instructions for several of the popular domain name services that are out there, as well as more generic instructions. In this case, you can add one of each of these records. I am going to choose the TXT record. I will copy the information that Microsoft requires. Bring up the DNS configuration for tastypie.com and add the record. As you can see, it has verified that we own tastypie.com. I'm going to add my first user. First user we're going to add will be Josh. As you can see from the pull down, I have the option of assigning him to tastypie.onmicrosoft.com or tastypie.com. If you have multiple domains beyond just the one that you have added and the onmicrosoft.com, you can of course easily choose from between those domains here. If there are any additional titles that I would like to fill out, such as job title and so on and so forth, which begin to matter if you are in larger organizations, then do so here. Next, do I want Josh to be an administrator? No, I don't like Josh that much. I'm going to make sure that he's just a regular old user. We're going to set user location. He lives in Canada, much as he complains, and assign administrative access to companies I support. No. What will Josh get access to? Well, why not let Josh play with all of the things that we have available? There's going to be a copy of Office Professional in it for him, access to Link, Office Web Apps, SharePoint, Exchange itself, and Azure Active Directory. Now, it will send an email here to the administrator informing the administrator that a user has been created. In this case, I'm going to have the email sent to my company address so that I can keep a record that I have created an address here. This has created a temporary password for josh.f@tastypie. This will have been emailed to my work email as well. Well, that's all for now. In the second part, I will go through the actual administrative interface itself. Thanks for watching. If you're an administrator, the very first place that you'll get dumped is the dashboard. A basic overview of the service health as you might care. If you have any open tickets, they'll be shown here. Anybody who isn't actually using the service, you get to see them here. A lovely overview of the various emails that are getting filtered by the system. There's a bunch of admin shortcuts to the common stuff. This is a very nice enhancement in the new interface. Reset user password, add new users, and assign user licenses. Probably the three things you are going to hit more than anything. Users and groups is pretty straightforward if you've ever used anything involving users and groups, ever. The only thing you really care about is in cloud or not. If it's in cloud, then your user is hosted on the Office 365 service sitting on Microsoft's Azure. It can also be an on-premise user hosted on your own Exchange on-premise, assuming that you had set that up. You might also periodically care to poke around in who your delegated admins are should you have any. Something of a good idea to keep track of who has administrative rights. Poke around in the domain section and you can add the various domains that you have. Microsoft starts you off with an onmicrosoft.com domain, which is how it identifies your company within the Azure cloud. Everybody has to have one, but you can add your own domains. Microsoft calls them vanity domains. The licensing overview is exactly what it says on the tin, and the service settings section is going to give you a basic overview at the service level of the various different things that you want to poke. You can get into more advanced versions of the service settings for each of these individual items by clicking on the admin button, going to your pull down, and selecting the individual service that you want to configure. Let's take a bit of a look at that now. If you go admin, Office 365, it brings you right back to the dashboard. Nothing particularly sexy there. Admin, Exchange, and you end up here. This is the overview for the entire Exchange setup within Office 365. You get a bit more to play with than you would if you were poking at the individual Exchange settings within the individual user accounts, but it's still nowhere near the full functionality of Exchange itself. For that, you'll have to go into PowerShell. Link configuration is similarly bare bones. There's rather an awful lot here that you cannot configure through this interface, but just about everything that you are really going to realistically need is available here in a point-and-click setup. Sharepoint has a lot more configuration options. Sharepoint was designed to make publishing websites and publishing content incredibly easy. You don't really want anybody who's going to have to administer or use SharePoint to ever have to drop down into PowerShell, so they've managed to bring a lot more of the administrative interface here into Office 365 than you find for the other two applications. Back in the main Office 365 Admin Center, there's the Service Health, which is one of my personal favorites, because if there's something that a user is reporting as a problem, the chances are the issue will be either here or between the keyboard and share. I have run into a few issues where legitimately Microsoft didn't know about it, but they are few and far between. The reports section would be a lot more interesting to show you if I actually had anything to report on. The part where this is a new domain with 2 users and a grand total of about 8 emails means none of the graphs do anything interesting. Support takes you through to their forums for searching or the ability to create a new ticket. Purchase services is pretty much what it says in the tin. The number of licenses has appeared to reach the point of insanity, but hey, you can order them all with one click. And that right there is the basics of the Office 365 Admin Center. In addition to the administrative side, there is the Outlook Web Access, which is the chunk that you will get to see if you are not an administrative user. As you can see, Office 365 is, well, kind of a lot like all of the not cloud versions. This is pretty much what Outlook Web Access for Exchange 2013 looks like. If you are curious as to what the Powershell interface is like and getting to use it, it's actually fairly simple. Copy the magic commands, enter your password, and it will automatically connect into the system. Takes a little while, loads up a whole bunch of stuff, but after that, you are connected to Office 365 and can do pretty much whatever you want remotely. There you go. You can see I've looked up the mailbox for Trevor.p, which is on the server. I'm not pronouncing that. And there you have it. Office 365, the administration panel, Outlook Web Access, and PowerShell. That's all. Thanks for watching.